Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this. Hello, and welcome to Crack Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all over spooky shit. My name's Cassandra.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are said sisters. Hello. We have a special guest today who is going to be helping introduce our topic.
Whoop, whoop.
It is my own crotch fruit. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Like
Say hello and your name.
Hi, my name is Grayson.
There you
Perfect.
go. Yeah.
What's your topic today, Grayson?
Loch Ness Monster.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Well, Nessie, is there a reason that you wanted your mom to cover that?
Because I had a book about it.
Oh, okay. Do you believe it's real? You heard it here, folks. She's nodding her head yes.
What do you know about the Loch Ness Monster? Do you have any facts for me?
It was in Loch Ness.
It lives in Loch Ness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loch Ness, what?
Just Loch Ness. That's what it's called.
I think it's Scotland.
In Scotland, yeah.
Scotland, that's what.
There you go.
What does Nessie look like? You don't know? Okay, well, that's something that we will discuss later. I'll fill you in after.
So, what's that?
Not much. Just enjoying another rainy Monday.
Oh, it's raining?
Yeah, it was very surprising to everyone. I had no idea that it was supposed to rain. We had a gorgeous day yesterday. So we went to the Huntington Library for Bonsai-a-thon, which is an event that Evan and I have frequented on more than one occasion.
Alex was so mad when he saw your Instagram post of a bonsai tree. He goes, that bitch got a bonsai tree and she wouldn't get me one for Christmas.
I did not buy it. It was on display at the library.
So he's like, once I read the post, I wasn't as mad.
They did have ones for sale, though, and I found one that I absolutely fell in love with, and it was like $1,200. So,
oh my God.
They are very expensive if you buy them, like if they are mature at all, if they're, in a pot, if they're coiled already. So, But did you just bow at me?
Yeah.
Oh, anywho, that was incredibly racist. How dare you?
No.
Anywho, what's new with you?
I'm drinking a Jack Daniel's slushy. That's pretty.
Yeah, that looked
delicious.
good. I don't have any alcohol in the house right now. So yeah, I could use some. Evan's actually out dropping his car off. I should tell him to bring some home.
Where is he dropping his car off at?
He was taking the Explorer to his friend Willie's place, who's going to go get the windows tinted.
Oh.
And take care of all of that.
That's nice.
Yeah. Oh, and it sounds like he's home. So I think I'm shit out of luck.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, indeed.
I don't really think anything else is new.
Same old, same old.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nothing exciting. Football is almost over.
Don't care.
I mean, I do because I get a month off and then
with your kid. I thought you
with
meant
my kid.
football.
Oh, yeah. Football's been over since Super Bowl. No one gives a shit about regular football.
Oh.
Nothing exciting, but okay.
I feel like I had something to say, but it's not coming out.
Well, I guess we'll just have to switch gears and talk about the Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
Like I said, Grayson was very adamant that not only I do the episode that she recommended, but she wanted to be in it. So clearly that went over very well.
Super great.
We had a conversation about it at dinner and she's like, I'm going to be in it. I want to be on it. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to talk. She's like, well, I don't want to do that. So,
Well, it's like when I made her, she asked to FaceTime with Alex that one time. And then she went stone and she went jogging. He thought the fucking camera froze and she refused.
Nope, that's just her. But anywho, yeah, so we are going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. What is the Loch Ness Monster? You might be asking, what is that, a drawing? Did you just quickly make that?
Oh my God, do you see that? It's so crazy. Yeah.
Hold on, let me send a letter to my local newspaper.
There has been a Nessie sighting.
Detailing a Nessie sighting all the way from Northern California and Southern for me. But yes, the Loch Ness Monster, also affectionately known as Nessie, is a mythical creature in Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It is often described as large, long-necked, and with one or more humps protruding from the water. Fun fact, the word loch is Scottish for lake. So Loch Ness is Lake Ness, and Nessie is a lake monster.
Okay.
In case you were wondering.
It's very full circle.
It was. Many people exist on either side of the fence with regard to the existence of Nessie, either believing she exists wholeheartedly or thinking everyone is crazy and her existence is a hoax.
Okay.
So at the end of it, we'll see where you fall on the spectrum.
Okay.
The Loch Ness Monster earned its name after an article was published in August of 1933 in a publication called The Courier, recounting the observation by a man named George Spicer. The article stirred up a ton of public interest, and the Courier soon began to receive countless letters with people's sightings describing things like monster fish, sea serpents, and dragons, all in the same location of Loch Ness. It was ultimately named the Loch Ness Monster, with the nickname Nessie catching on around the 1940s.
Okay.
Sightings of the Loch Ness Monster date all the way back to 7th century AD.
Jesus.
Yes. The earliest report of a Nessie sighting was noted in the biographical work of a man named, I'm going to completely butcher this, Adamnan of Iona, titled...
Oh, good old Adamnam.
We're just going to call him Omnom.
That's what I was going to say.
Titled The Life of St. Columba. And according to Omnom, an Irish monk named St. Columba was staying in the land of the Picts with his companions when he encountered local residents burying a man by the River Ness. Yes, okay. I would have the same look if I just stumbled upon a bunch of people burying a body.
Well, if it's in the water, is it really burying it?
Well, yeah, it was by the water.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. They claimed that the guy that they were burying was swimming in the river when he was attacked by a water beast that had mauled him and dragged him underwater. They tried to save him from their boat, but were obviously unsuccessful. St. Columba then sent someone else into the river to swim across, and the beast approached that guy too, but St. Columba made the sign of the cross, said, "Go no further, do not touch the man, go back at once." Nessie was apparently compelled by the power of Christ
Did you
to
say there's a
stop.
fucking demon?
I know. And apparently Nessie hightailed it out of there and
Okay.
left the second man unscathed.
Very nice.
So, right? So accounts prior to the 1930s are taken with very large grains of salt, and the skeptics tended to pick them apart. Usually they were just chalked up to old tales of lore from people that existed so long ago that it's hard to believe anything that has come down for thousands of years. I don't know how AD, BC, and the whole timeline works.
Long time ago.
In a few of the accounts from the 1800s, people had reported seeing objects resembling logs that kind of wiggled around a bit in the water, or stubby-legged animals that had been compared to salamanders.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but maybe the skeptics were right not to buy into the accounts from way back yonder. Like a wiggly log is not really convincing, but you never know. The best known article that first attracted a great deal of attention about the creature was published on May 2nd of 1933 in the Inverness Courier about a large beast or whale-like fish. The article discussed a sighting by a woman named Aldi McKay, and her description was that of an enormous creature with the body of a whale rolling around in the water of the loch while she and her husband John were driving on the A82, which I'm assuming is a highway or something in Scotland.
A82, not I.
A82. I don't know what it stands for in Scotland. I'm sure some weird word that I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
But this was on April 15th of 1933. And the word monster was reportedly applied for the first time in this article. In an excerpt taken from the article and then republished in 2017, it read, so this is that Aldi McKay's description in her accounting. The creature disported itself, rolling and plunging for fully a minute, its body resembling that of the whale, and the water cascading and churning like a simmering cauldron. Soon, how
That is the most descriptive sentence I've ever heard.
1930s, okay? They used very different words back then. Soon, however, it disappeared in a boiling mass of foam. Both onlookers confessed there was something uncanny about the whole thing, for they realized that here was no ordinary denizen of the depths, because, apart from its enormous size, the beast, in taking the final plunge, sent out waves that were big enough to have been caused by a passing steamer.
I feel like this bitch needs to write my wedding vows.
Well, she's dead.
Well, I'll just channel her essence.
There you go. I mean, but there was a lot of big words. I don't think you've ever heard some of them before.
Not all of them. I've heard plunging.
Plunging.
And if it's compared to the body of a whale and it went away in like a foamy exit, do you know what like all the foam is allegedly?
It's whale spunk. Like that's why you don't play in it in the ocean.
So Nessie just like busted a nut and then bye.
That's kind of what it sounds like. You know, that can explain the writhing and the wiggling and the barrel.
This was just having a weird sexual experience.
Yes, having a jolly good time and then peaced out.
Wow.
Yes. Later in 1933, there was another sighting reported, this time by a man named George Spicer. I have not had anything to drink.
George Spicer.
So he was the one I had mentioned previously. So his article is where the nickname for Nessie
I'm like,
had come about.
The same name. Did the
and
same
where Loch
thing.
Ness Monster was coined. So in his account, he stated that him and his wife saw a weird ass creature. Mm-hmm. My words, not his.
Yeah.
Crossing the road in front of their car and some big ass thing going across the road as they're driving, and described it as having a large body, which was about 4 feet high and about 25 feet long.
Wow.
It had a long, wavy, narrow neck, slightly thicker than an elephant's trunk, and it was as long as the 10 to 12 foot width of the road. So like a big, long neck and then big, long body. But they saw no limbs.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, is it like snaking across the road? Like, did we shake it? Like, is it a giant worm?
Or it's like a centipede and it has the little legs.
Oh, maybe like it had so many legs that it just couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Interesting. He also described it as looking like a dragon or a prehistoric animal. So you can think plesiosaur. I don't know if you know what those are. They're like a marine reptile that was like kind of dinosaur.
Oh, yeah.
Very similar. Long neck, but it had like fins and shit. That was debunked later on. The accounts of like how big it was and how it worked, its neck wouldn't have been able to be supported by like however long it was. Okay. So it was not a dinosaur. When Spicer's sighting tale had been published, it generated a huge amount of public interest, and even more people started writing in to claim that they had witnessed similar things themselves. Up until this point, everything had just been anecdotes and alleged sightings described by a bunch of randos in local newspapers. Mm-hmm. That was until in November of 1933, which I don't know if you've noticed, but 1933 has been the year for Nessie. But a man named Hugh Gray came forward and said, "But wait, I have photographic proof that this monster exists." The photo was in black and white, and it was very grainy, and it kind of reminded me of an ultrasound where you usually have no idea what you're looking at, because the original photo that I had looked up, I made out nothing. So when people started taking a good hard look at it, though, it was essentially dismissed as it looked like it could have been just a dead dog in the water or like an otter that was like rolling around in the lake. There were no negatives that existed of the picture. Like it just kind of disappeared. Yeah. Or appeared. So yeah, in the 30s, that would be very uncommon not to have the negative to reference. Yeah. And so it was just like a printed picture that no one could really make heads or tails of. Okay. So yeah, that one was quickly just dismissed. Following year, so in April of 1934, a new photo emerged that supposedly showed not only the head, but the neck of the monster as well. It is referred to as the surgeon's photograph, and this is the more notable image that people recall when they think of the Loch Ness Monster sightings. So you can Google the surgeon's image, and it's the black and white where you very clearly see, it kind of looks like one of those submarine eye things coming out of the water. What could it be? But it's very distinctive. And so for 60 years, that photo was considered evidence of the monster's existence, although skeptics dismissed it as driftwood, an elephant, an otter, even a bird. I saw that look. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
The photo scale was also a very controversial topic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's often shown cropped, making the creature seem large with ripples that look like waves around it. But there is an uncropped version of the photo, and that uncropped shot shows that the other end of the lake is able to be seen, and the monster's in the center of it. Mm-hmm. So it's not as big.
Ginormous. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the ripples in the photo were found to fit the size and pattern of small ripples, not the large waves the photograph seemed to show when up close.
Gotcha.
In 1993, there was a documentary about the Loch Ness Monster, and in it, they had analyzed the uncropped image and found a white object visible in every version of the photo, implying that it was going to be on the negative of the image as well.
Oh, okay.
And so the mysterious white object was believed to be the cause of the ripples, whatever it was, and suggested that whatever it was making the ripples was actually being towed. So although the possibility of it just being a blemish on the negative was there as well, it seemed to insinuate that it's definitely not what you think you're looking at. And so an analysis of the full photograph indicated that the object that made that ripple was actually very small, only about 2 to 3 feet long.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was something, but they didn't know what it was. But they also assumed that there was something creating that it wasn't the monster.
Okay. Yeah.
Since 1994, and after the documentary and all of this came to light, especially with regard to the photo, most agree that the photo was an elaborate hoax, and people started to theorize how the photo could have been faked.
Okay.
So the creature was reportedly a toy submarine built by a man named Christian Sperling, and he was the son-in-law of a man named Marmaduke Wetherell. I didn't know people were actually named Marmaduke. I thought it was just a dog's name.
A dog?
In a newspaper. It was like a newspaper cartoon.
What a fancy name.
Right? So Sperling ended up admitting that the surgeon's photo was a hoax in January of 1991. The reason for the photograph's existence in the first place, why go through all the trouble to create this hoax image, was believed that it was Wetherell's means of getting revenge on his then employer back in the 1930s, the Daily Mail, after Wetherell had found what he claimed to be Nessie's footprints. That actually turned out to be a hoax as well, but he, I think, was just really embarrassed by the whole thing and was supposed to be like, well, I'm going to show you, and then ended up faking a new picture that's like, this is real. I still don't understand.
You would have learned the lesson the first time?
No, people are stupid. People do stupid things all the time.
That's not really the time to double down, in my opinion.
Right? Yeah, so Wetherell had perpetrated this hoax photo with a couple of different co-conspirators. So there was Christian Sperling, as I had mentioned, who was his son-in-law, who also happened to be a sculpture specialist.
Oh.
Ian Wetherell, which was his son, and he supposedly bought the material to make the fake creature. And then a man named Maurice Chambers, who was an insurance agent. The four of them had concocted this whole object and then shot this scene in an attempt to gain attention for, Nessie being real. And additionally, there was a toy submarine that had been bought from a place called F.W. Woolworth. And then a head and neck were made supposedly by a sculptor, one like Christian Sperling.
Yeah.
And it was made from wood putty. So they cobbled them together and made a Nessie replica. And then they had gone initially to a local pond to kind of test it out. And then once they had success there, they then went to Loch Ness, where Ian Wetherell had took the photos near, I can't pronounce this word, Altside Tea House. I don't know. Sorry Scottish people. When they heard that a water bailiff was approaching, which I assume is the Scottish version of a Coast Guard or like,
oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Lake Ranger, Marmaduke Wetherill ended up sinking the model with his foot, and it is presumably still somewhere in the bottom of Loch Ness to this day.
So it's not a giant sculpture; it's a very small.
It's a very small thing that they use forced perspective to make look big.
I mean, if you're gonna fucking go through all that work to make it, you might as well make it massive.
Right? Go big or go home.
Yeah, that's lazy.
That is very lazy. But I mean, this is coming from the dude who faked footprints and like got caught immediately. So, you know.
I mean, I don't really know if I trust his judgment all too well, but
I wouldn't. So a myriad of other sightings had been reported over the years, with more recent images coming from Apple Maps in 2014.
Ooh. I love when people find weird shit on Apple or Google Maps.
Yes. That's fun. I like to every now and again go back and look at our old houses and stuff.
Oh, I never thought about that.
It's been updated recently, but only just a couple of years ago. My first car, my old Exploder, could still be seen parked out in front of the house years and years and years after it died. So
I know it blew up, first of all. And there was like a meme of this guy. It's like, I've waited years and years for this. And he saw that the Google truck or car was coming around. And he was holding a shovel, and there was like a ditch, and he made it look like he just buried someone and like
that is
got
fantastic.
Caught doing it. I think that's pretty cool.
I can see people trying to abuse the situation and like run out and like flash the Google.
It probably would blur it out. If
I would think so. Yeah, I don't know if it's like automatically uploaded. Does someone review everything?
No,
or is
so
it like
I think it's supposed to blur faces. I don't know about tits. But
yeah, like does it blur genitalia?
Blur I don't know. You should try it and let me know.
And also, because I'm sure they use overhead satellite, not just the cars. It always makes me nervous about sunbathing in the backyard.
You have the smallest backyard.
I know, but back in the day, I used to lay out on mom and dad's deck, and I'd be home alone, so I'd be topless trying to get some rays.
You know, we were level to the house above us, right?
I know that in hindsight. I didn't think about a lot of things.
You might be on a different site other than Google Maps.
And it took me far too long at the time to realize that if I wanted to lay out in the backyard of the old apartment, we were on the bottom floor, but there was a balcony right above. Fortunately, I had all of my clothes on at that time, but still,
get it together.
But yes, Apple Maps in 2014 had caught an image, which was like an overhead image of the lake. Mm-hmm. But when you look at it, it just looks like an overhead shot of a really big lake fish. It looked more fishy, not monstery.
Okay.
There was also drone footage in 2021, so very recently, though it didn't look like much of anything to me. I could not make heads or tails of what the hell I was looking at and how anyone put together that it was Nessie, aside from the fact that it happened to be in Loch Ness. I don't know where that would have come from. Additionally, a plethora of searches and quests to find Nessie have taken part. So there have been like missions and excursions to go find the monster, but none of them ended up returning with unequivocal evidence that Loch Ness Monster's actual existence was a thing.
How big is that lake, roughly?
21 miles.
Okay, I feel like that's not too big.
Yeah, it's like the second largest lake in Scotland, but for comparison, like how big is Lake Kachuma? Let's see. Oh, that's only 5 miles. Okay. How big is, where did we go? Lake Havasu. That's like 46 miles.
Oh, okay. And I feel like we covered a lot of it. Before the boat broke and I got sunburnt and we ran out of gas and...
But, you know, in that last stretch, we went very
That's what
far.
I'm talking about, yeah.
So, I mean,
you could definitely dredge that pretty easily.
Yeah, I would think so. I definitely think that if some giant monster was living in it, like,
and there would have to be multiple. If it was originally spotted in AD times or even early as the 1930s, you would have to have an offspring or a mate or something.
Right? Like there's a family of monsters living in the lake. And then I just don't feel like there would be enough room to accommodate.
No, it's not that big of a lake. Yeah.
And then generationally, if they're that big, what do they eat? They eat fish and whatever else lives in there. Like, would their food supply last that
Well, it's
long?
like the stupid megalodon fucking thing. People still think the megalodon exists. You're idiots, by the way. I'm a shark expert. But they think it's still just hiding in the deep, deep ocean, and that's just dumb.
I mean, while the vastness of the ocean is bigger than any of us can comprehend, and it is one of the scariest things ever, I feel like its presence would be known. It's not like it's living at the bottom of the
Exactly.
darkness. It's got to come up and eat because there's no sustainable food down there.
Mhm.
Anywho, I digress. In August of 2023, a weekend of
I don't know why
I'm
you
a
did
little
that.
teapot.
Fucking teapot.
In August of 2023, a weekend of high-tech searching was done in observance of the 90th anniversary of the 1933 Aldi McKay sighting. So that's the one with she had a very colorful explanation for her sighting. The event was coordinated by Loch Ness exploration volunteers in collaboration with the Loch Ness Visitor Center. The high-tech search used sonar for mapping the loch bed, thermal imaging drones to scan the surface, and hydrophones, which are underwater microphones,
okay.
to see if they could record sounds. They did pick up some sound feedback, but it was probably ducks, is what they concluded.
Oh, okay.
Despite a large turnout of searchers on site and hundreds more viewing the internet live stream cameras, I'm having all of the strokes tonight.
Because you're too sober for this.
I know that's what the problem is. There were no conclusive sightings. So even using all of their high-tech tools and gadgets and having a whole bunch of people, there was no conclusive evidence.
Boo.
So a number of explanations have been suggested to account for sightings of Nessie, though it is unlikely that a single explanation of the monster is like what it truly is.
Okay.
So generally what the Loch Ness Monster really is gets chalked up to good old misidentification of known animals that exist in our day and age. Common animals that it's been compared to are large European eels, which are found in Loch Ness, and that apparently wouldn't be too out of left field for one to be of an unusually large size. So that's something kind of squirmy wormy and would be relatively large. And if it surfaced, I don't know if eels need air, but maybe. So. So another common animal, and I mentioned it previously, and your face was like, what the fuck? It might have been an elephant.
That doesn't seem right to me, but
I know. But that the surgeon's photo, the one with the head and neck, it kind of looks like it could be the top of an elephant's head with the trunk sticking out of the water.
Yes.
But why would an elephant be in the lake?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, in 2006, a paleontologist and an artist named Neil Clark suggested that traveling circuses might have allowed elephants to bathe within the loch. That could have been captured at that time, like in the image. And the trunk could have been perceived as the head and neck, with the head being perceived as the back humps.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that's a big stretch. If I saw an elephant in the water, I'm fairly certain I would know it's an elephant. And also, I don't feel like he would
completely submerge himself.
Exactly. Where it's just, the top of his head and breathing through his trunk. I don't know. I don't know enough about elephants.
I don't think I agree with that reasoning.
Yes. There is a zoologist / angler / television personality. His name is Jeremy Wade. He's on that show River Monsters. He hosts it.
Oh, yeah. I like that show.
Yeah, so he had done an investigation of the creature in 2013 as part of a special episode for it. And his conclusion was that, no, it's not an elephant, it's not an eel. He concluded that it is a Greenland shark. That's his, yeah. And I knew that was going to be your reaction. So the Greenland shark can reach up to 20 feet in length.
Isn't that specific to Antarctica?
So they inhabit the North Atlantic Ocean around Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, and possibly Scotland.
No.
I feel like that's a big possibility.
It looks more like a big fish than a shark. It doesn't even look like a fucking...
But what's funny, that the Apple image, that drone image or whatever, it looks like it could have been an overhead of the Greenland shark in there.
Oh, shit.
Like, that's kind of what it looked like. But it looked nothing like what we think the Loch Ness Monster looks like.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason why a Greenland shark would be in fresh water is that it possibly used rivers and lakes to find food. So it came in through a brackish spot.
Yeah. They are so rarely seen to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't
believe
like I said,
that.
I am the resident shark expert, so I don't think.
Yes, just because Loch Ness has an abundance of salmon and other fish, I don't think that is ultimately what it is.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what the most common potentials for what Nessie could be.
I think I saw somewhere that it's the end of a boat or something.
That could be too, where the bow or the, I don't know, boat parts.
I don't know boat parts.
Scott would be very disappointed, or Jason would be very disappointed, either one of them, because I don't care. Anytime they start talking about sailing, boats, anything nautical, I glaze over and shut down like a robot.
No, he's supposed to let us on his yacht or something, right?
He keeps promising to take us sailing, so
yeah. Let's go find Nessie.
I don't think we're gonna find Nessie
ocean we're in
Catalina Island. So.
Yeah, well, I would like to go.
But whether there is truly a big old water monster roaming around Loch Ness, terrorizing the locals, or if it's some more common animal that's just being misidentified, there definitely seems to be something living there.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure that I believe she's real, but I want to believe.
I want to. I don't think I do. Dude, I think about this often. If I was a billionaire, like Elon Musk or something, I would build a giant livable submarine that's impenetrable, no matter what the depth is or anything like that. It's got like a living room. It's got all the shit that you need. Basically a bunker, but in a submarine. I've given this lots of thought.
Clearly.
And I would literally just go and explore the deep, creepy ocean to see what I could find.
Wow.
That would be my life.
I am too claustrophobic for that.
That's why it's literally the size of a house. Just a one story.
I get that. I had read a book not that long ago. It was maybe last year, the year before, called The Deep by Nick Cutter, I believe. And so it's about a bunch of people who live and work in this research facility deep down in the ocean. Like it's huge, it's super big, multiple rooms, they all connect. But as I was reading it, just knowing that even though you have all of the space around you,
you would have to put it out of your brain.
You're underwater.
If I thought about it, I would freak out.
Oh my God.
My second thing I would do if I was a billionaire, people should really make me a billionaire, is I always think zoos are backwards. I feel like in aquariums, they're backwards. I feel like we take all these beautiful animals that are supposed to be in this vast ocean or vast jungles or whatever, and we put them in a tiny little box. I feel like we as humans should be in that little box. So let's say you have, I don't know, 100 acres of an
African safari.
Yeah. Or the safari. And you take a part that's enclosed that the humans can come and look at everyone in their natural habitat. Or if it's underground, you create like this tunnel that's underground. So you're not capturing them. You're kind of just getting to experience them in their natural habitat. I feel like that would be so much better.
That is a good idea. I could see that. I could see that. I mean, the other flip side to animals in the zoo is often they are like abandoned at birth and won't survive in the wild, or like
I'm not against zoos or anything like that. I'm just saying I think it would be a better, more sustainable, healthy way.
Yeah, like I am at that point in my life where the idea of SeaWorld does not appeal to me at all.
Do you ever watch Blackfish?
I did.
I watched it on Christmas one year and I was depressed for like
oh my God. Yeah, no, I watched it a couple years ago and I was just in a black cloud for days.
You know, I still lived at home and I went downstairs and I'm like, I can't believe you guys took me to SeaWorld. And mom's like, hello. Yeah, that's kind of shit. But also they do research and they do this and they do that. These places are important. Zoos are important. That's how we learn about species and we can help better them, or they're abandoned and they need somewhere to live because they can't live in the wild. And I'm like, that's like a point.
I mean, that is a good point. But they also, yes, they can do all of the good things with the research and the rehab and then this and that, but you don't need to make them perform.
No, yeah, I agree.
And that's what it is. I also did my part to contribute to the negative aspect because I participated in the get to swim with the dolphins.
You did.
I did. And
Very
it
cool.
was bucket list item for me. And I got to do it. And it was also the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life because I am so scared of the water.
Yeah. You
And
were in like a pool, weren't you?
you're in a tank, but the tanks are deep because they have to be big enough to fit large marine animals that are a hell of a lot bigger than you think they are. And I swam with a common dolphin, which is so much smaller than a bottlenose. Bottlenose would have been ideal, but like I got to hold it and stuff, but it's
Did
still
it try to
so
hump you?
big. It did not try to hump me. We did not make that kind of connection.
They like rape people.
They do. Dolphins are menaces of the sea.
I don't like dolphins.
I love dolphins. They're
I know
too
you
smart
do.
for their own good. But I am scared to death of orcas. I'm more scared of an orca than I am of a shark.
I don't like orcas. But for someone who dove with, I was in a cage, but with sharks, I may have taken an orca. It was fucking terrifying. But to be fair, it wasn't even the sharks that were so bad. It was a barracuda, which I'd never seen. I didn't know. I just knew the song from Heart. I didn't know what it was.
Great song.
And so I asked Alice, he goes, that's a barracuda. And it's just like swimming and just looking in your soul. And I'm like, that thing can get in this cage because the cage is super wide and it's just fucking eye fucking you.
Yeah.
And thankfully it wanted nothing to do with us, but that was probably the most scary thing. And then
I
the
mean-
poor bitch behind me just couldn't stop barfing. So she was like chumming the waters.
Gross. But I mean, the ocean is just full of terrifying things.
Oh, scary.
Period. It is so scary. That is why I'm so fascinated by it. But I have a very healthy respect for the ocean and just, I like to observe it from a distance. I don't really like being in it. I like the one little mother's beach that we go to because no shark's going to be coming to get me there. Being out in the open ocean, terrifying. Being in the water, terrifying. There's too many things that can kill you.
Even pools. You convinced me there were sharks in our black bottom pool we had.
I did.
They're
Filter sharks. But like even in the lakes, so swimming in Havasu, that was the first time I've ever been in like a lake and it
was scary. I've even been in Havasu before, but lakes, they kind of freak me out. And especially because something touched my foot.
Yeah, well,
it was like seaweed or something. And I lost my ever-loving mind.
And I didn't think about the fact that there is depth to a lake. And a lake, I think of like a pool. Like, oh, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to touch the bottom. And then I'm like, there is nothing below me. I can't see anything. Oh my God. I'm not a lake person.
I don't think we're water people.
I'm just not a water person is what it is.
Oh gosh.
But anywho, Nessie, I don't know that she's real. I'd love it if she were, but
I agree.
Yeah. What is your topic going to be?
So I'm torn between two.
Okay.
One is kind of just something spooky. And then one, I guess, I didn't think it was a conspiracy theory, but when I said it out loud to myself, it's actually kind of the definition of a conspiracy theory. So one would be the poltergeist curse.
Ooh.
So like all the shit that happened on the set of that movie and to the actors that were in the original movie.
And it's
and
local.
All that kind of stuff. And it's local. Or wilderness programs, which I don't know if you know of. Usually parents will send their children to them because they're misbehaving or they just want them to get out with one in nature. And I don't know if they choose blissful ignorance or if they actually don't know what they're sending their kids away to, but it's just like horrific situations for months and months that these kids are basically tortured and it's all A-okay. And then nothing's supposed to get back to the parents, but obviously people's experiences have come to light and it's pretty bananas.
I like both of those.
So do I. I don't know which one to do.
You know what? We're going to solve this with a good old fashioned coin toss on which one to do first. Let me see if I have a coin. Oh, I know where I have one. I have one in my sloth. Just a moment.
Those are very short shorts, ma'am.
Oh, because I'm sitting down and they're riding up my ass. So, okay, let's see. Heads, poltergeist, tails, wilderness camps.
Yes. Heads. Okay.
Heads.
So poltergeist.
Okay, there you go. So poltergeist it is.
Have fun.
Well, with that being said, we are always on a never-ending quest for additional topics. I actually got a topic request from a colleague, so I'll talk about that in our next episode when I discuss my next topic.
What?
But yeah, so feel free to reach out to us on social media with any other suggestions of what you'd like us to chit chat about. You can reach us at Instagram, Crack Sisters Conspiracies. You can send us an email, cracksistersconspiracies@gmail.com. We have a Facebook and an X, but we don't use them. We have a TikTok, which I'm being better about posting
saw.
little
I was very
snippets
happy.
here and there because we record the episode. So we'll give you a taste, but we're really trying to encourage you to come to our Patreon where you can give us your money and have full access to all of the videos.
Like Nessie sighting that we saw earlier.
You could see the depiction of Nessie, you know. And
you're not gonna understand the difference between that one and the real one.
Yeah, you can weigh in on if you believe if that was convincing enough for you.
Agreed.
It's patreon.com/Crack Sisters Conspiracies, I believe. But with that, I'm going to say stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.